On tonight's program, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Kilimitzoglou, who is a biomimetic dentist, and he's the founder of ESI Healthy Dentistry, as well as Dr. Sabrina Caliendo, who's the founder of Nurture Wellbeing. Her specialty is human optimization. But before we introduce our great speakers, what I wanted to do is to create the context for this conversation. Because I think excellent medical care can be done in the proper environment. And if the environment isn't right, and if there's a lot of perverse incentives, then it's very difficult to provide the kind of care that I'm going to introduce you to that's available through these remarkable physicians. But before we get there, what I wanted to do is introduce you to this concept that we've been developing for the last, I guess, 25 years. So my name is Alex Lubarsky. I'm the founder of Science of Human Optimization, a company that works with some of the top functional medicine doctors in the country. And the questions that we're looking to answer are, first, how do we extend human lifespan as much as possible? How do we condense the diseases of aging into a small window as we can? And then how do we make the system available and affordable to anybody that might want to? But before we talk about creating a better system of healthcare, maybe we can discuss some of the inherent problems in this one. And although there are many, I'd like to highlight four. The first is that the system is almost entirely focused on the indefinite management of chronic disease. Second, the only time your doctor can access the money that you've paid into your health insurance is once you already have a well-established, diagnosable chronic disease state. Third, at $4 trillion, the system is unsustainable by any measure. But worse, it turned our sickness and disease into a modern-day gold rush. And fourth, the system is fragmented. So you have your oncologist once you develop cancer, a rheumatologist once you develop arthritis, an endocrinologist once you develop diabetes, a cardiologist once you develop heart disease, and of course you have your neurologist who's going to pretend like he can do something about your early onset Alzheimer's. This is our team, the founding team. Dr. Kilimitzoglou, like I mentioned, is one of the top biomimetic dentists in the country. He's the founder of ESI Healthy Dentistry. Dr. Mitchell Kirk is board certified medical doctor. He's a doctor of osteopathy, doctor of optometry. He spent the last number of decades specializing in medical nutrition. He's a world-renowned pioneer in functional medicine. And not only is he the author of Prescription for Long Life, Essential Remedies for Longevity, he is the embodiment of it. And then we have Clifford Locks, who is an investor, entrepreneur. Clifford was, his last company was involved in a $1.2 billion sale. And he has a strategic interest in longevity, prevention, and human optimization. My name is Alex Lubarsky, and I've been in healthcare for about 25 years. And about 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with some really unpleasant health issues and could find no resolution in the established model. So I wanted to design a system that was more personalized, more proactive, one that I would want for myself, my wife, my children, my friends, and my extended human family. So instead of focusing on one particular leaf on this huge tree of ailments, what we look to do is address the underlying cause. And in most instances, it's three things: deficiency of important vitamins and minerals, toxicity of heavy metals, parasites, xenoestrogens, and a compromised system of digestion. We work with family nurse practitioners under the direction of some of the top functional medicine doctors, best-selling authors, renowned scientists, world experts in prevention, longevity, and human optimization, like that of Dr. Kirk. And then we use a breakthrough diagnostic technology called integrative genetic solutions. And what it does is it takes all available information on what it takes the human body to function optimally, and then correlates that with a person's blood work. It creates a very thorough report of any deficiency, toxicity, food allergies, inflammation, anything that might interfere with optimal function from the DNA out. And then we assign one of our practitioners to our client. And it becomes their mission to be the world expert in this particular person and what it takes for them to function at the very peak level of health expression for the duration of their extraordinary long life. So when we talk about expanding human lifespan as much as possible, what does that look like exactly? Well, this is my friend Gene Scala. Last time I saw Gene, he was celebrating his 107th birthday. And at the time, he bowled every Wednesday. He made his own clothes. He played the saxophone. And he was very popular with the ladies, 80 and above. But the true champion of longevity is Jean-Louise Calment. This lovely lady was born in 1875 in France and lived a total of 122 years and 164 days. Unless you think that she was a health-conscious vegan that drank wheatgrass juice in the morning and did yoga in the afternoon, she only quit smoking when she was 117. And she was known to drink alcohol somewhat regularly. So we know that the human body, even by accident, can live to be at least 120. But if you ask the average person if they wanted to live that long, most people would say, probably not. So maybe we can talk about something a little more practical. The average person in the United States lives to be about 78 plus. And the last 15 to 20 years, they're dealing with a rainbow of age-related disease conditions. People in Japan, on the other hand, live an average of 85 with a much more narrow window of age-related chronic illnesses. So how about we make it our goal to live to be 85, optimally well, cognizant, and enjoying life to the fullest. Because from what I understand, we're going to be dead a lot longer than we're alive, and we might as well put as much juice out of this experience as we possibly can. So right now what we're doing is we're establishing relationships between functional medicine doctors, potential investors, and clients. And then it's just a matter of getting this information in front of as many people as we possibly can. With a goal of serving 10,000 clients within 5 years. The kind of people we're looking to take on as clients are executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs, athletes, and moms. So if the average person is a classic sedan, say, that goes out for a leisurely drive on a sunny Sunday afternoon, the entrepreneur is more like a race car traversing the Grand Prix. They have the pedal to the metal, the engine is racing, they're taking hairpin turns, the tires are screeching, they're shifting gears, sweating through their clothes, and they're doing this day in and day out, year after year. But the difference between this car and the entrepreneur is eventually the car will pull into a pit stop. And there they'll change the tires, make sure the brakes are working, and check the engine oil. Because under these extreme conditions, this kind of relentless stress, if you will, if the engine oil is low, even a quart or two, eventually what will happen is the car will overheat and the engine explode. Well, vitamin D to the entrepreneur is what engine oil is to this race car. It's one of some 90 essential nutrients the body needs to function optimally. If you don't know your vitamin D level, you can be pretty much assured that you're depleted in this very important pre-hormone. The way you find out your level is through a blood test known as the vitamin D 25 hydroxy. If your vitamin D comes back under 20 nanograms per milliliter, the first thing you need to do is fire your doctor. Because under 20 nanograms per milliliter, you have a much higher chance of developing osteomalacia, which is a weakening of the bones, but a 75% chance of developing colon cancer. That's 75% chance of developing colon cancer if your vitamin D is under 20 nanograms per milliliter. Now, 75% is almost 100%. Just imagine how disruptive something so preventable can be to your ability to run your business and live your life. So right now, there's some 76 million baby boomers in the United States, many of whom have an interest in living longer and healthier lives. This demographic also controls a lot of the wealth in this country. And whenever there's enough interest, enough resources in a particular arena, all of a sudden things become possible that were never possible before. For example, if you and I were sitting in my backyard 10 years ago, and I told you that I wanted to build a spaceship and go into outer space, you would probably think I was a little bit out of my mind because only NASA does that. Private citizens don't build spaceships and they don't go into outer space, except today it's almost commonplace. You have all these remarkable people like Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, others who are building private spaceships and going to outer space as easy as you would get into your car and drive out of town. Well, I believe that something similar is about to happen in this arena of human optimization and longevity. And there's also a tremendous amount of pent-up resources available. For example, out of the $4 trillion we're spending on disease management, $365 billion is spent on end-of-life care. And in my opinion, the last few months that we spend on this planet should be done in comfort. We should be surrounded by the people we love, preferably at home, where we can reminisce about the life we live and look forward to the next great adventure, rather than being surrounded by flashing lights, beeping machines, a laundry list of medications being poked, prodded, and surgically invaded. A portion of this money can be used to make people very comfortable. The rest can be repurposed into human optimization and longevity research. So in my 35 years in business, what I learned about marketing is that none of it works, but somehow all of it does. And our goal is to reach as many people as possible from as many different channels as we can on as a consistent basis as we're able to do. Eventually, we'll identify those people who resonate with this message, and they will become our best clients and most enthusiastic promoters. There's a number of companies doing an amazing job disrupting this current model of healthcare. The first is Parsley Health, founded by a functional medicine doctor in New York City. She had a tiny little office. They didn't accept health insurance. It was membership-based, and they actually focused on getting to the root cause of the chronic illness. Well, somebody liked the concept enough that they invested $10 million in expanding it. Recently, they received $26 million more to expand the concept further, and that is just very exciting. Then you have Forward Health, which is a more technologically advanced diagnostic center. They started with a couple of centers in California. Now they have a couple of centers here in New York. They also don't accept health insurance. It's membership-based. And recently they raised $225 million to expand the concept nationally. And then you have the independent functional medicine doctor. Unfortunately, there's not enough of them here in the United States. But these are some of the most remarkable, passionate, brilliant, and courageous people that I've met in my entire life. And their clients are very lucky to have them. Truly, our greatest competition is apathy built out of misinformation. So if we can educate people, we can motivate them to take action on what is ultimately in their own best interest. So now, how do we make the system accessible and affordable to 1 billion people? That's a good question. First, by creating strategic partnerships with non-competing companies that are looking to reach a similar demographic, we can offset the cost of client acquisition, which can be significant, and then pass on the savings on to our clients. Then by working with family nurse practitioners trained in functional medicine, rather than medical doctors, we can again bring the pricing down quite a bit. Medical doctors, for the most part, spend their whole training and career identifying well-established disease states and then managing those conditions with surgery, medication, and hospitalization. It's kind of like after the engine on the race car explodes, then you call in all the experts. But asking these people to check your vitamin D level and make sure it's optimized, it's an overkill. It's kind of like watering your garden through a fire hose. It's too much. It's unnecessary. You have family nurse practitioners who are amazing. First of all, they're naturally caring. And secondly, they're trained in how the body systems work, and they know how to keep those systems functioning optimally. Then by using diagnostic technology like integrative genetic solutions that can search all available information on what it takes the human body to function optimally, and then correlate that with a person's blood work in a matter of minutes, we can save our practitioners a tremendous amount of time, which translates into further savings for our clients. And finally, we use virtual technology. So a lot of the interviews can be done via Zoom. If we need to get blood, we can send the phlebotomist to the house. If we need to send supplements or other test kits, we can do that through the mail. So that makes infrastructure optional. Now we don't have to have the expensive office space. We don't need to hire the staff and pay high salaries. And that brings the cost of access further still. So now we can offer customized precision care focused on human optimization with an interest in longevity and condensing the diseases of aging into a smaller window as we possibly can, but ultimately getting people to function at the very peak level of health expression in the moment. and all for the price of a cup of coffee per day. And not even the overpriced Starbucks kind, one that you would get at your local diner. So my call to action is twofold. First, find out your vitamin D level, and then make sure it's optimized. It is probably the most important thing you can do for yourself, and then ultimately your business. And second of all, if any of this resonates with you on any level, let's set up some time. Let's discuss it in more detail. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I would really enjoy meeting you in person. Our first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a doctor. She's the founder of Nurture Wellbeing. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Sabrina Caliendo. Dr. Caliendo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you see?
Dr. Caliendo?
Can you hear me? Alex, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Let me see.
We can hear you.
There you go.
You can hear me? Can you see me?
Yes.
You can? Okay, wonderful.
Sound.
Wonderful. All right. So welcome, everyone. I'm so...
Dr. Caliendo, you just muted yourself.
Dr. Caliendo, we can't hear you.
Actually, I think I was muted. It says host muted me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm so thrilled to be here, everyone. I actually, once Alex told me that the title of this was Radical Longevity, I can't tell you how excited that made me, because this is something that I've put my focus on for years. I've been in practice 22 years, studied for 5 years before that. So I would say it's been 27, 28 years of studying health and wellness and getting to that optimized state of health naturally without the use of drugs or surgery is my forte. This is what I do, and this is what I love to do. So where radical longevity is such a big subject, I want to make sure that I am very concise and I give you as much as I can in a short amount of time. And so with that, that means ultra focus. Can you hear me, everyone? I'm just seeing this chat. Can you hear me? So that means ultra focus and engagement. So please take notes and feel free to take pictures of the slides. If you need to take pictures of the slides, I really want you to take in as much as you can. And I'm here with fully ready to transform lives, save lives, and hopefully, as Alex said, shift your mindset from an illness paradigm into a wellness paradigm. And those are two very different things. And again, as Alex said, what we always aim to do is transcend and include. So in other words, we want to aim high, and then everything else follows behind that. So you want to aim at radical longevity, a very long and healthy, vibrant life. And then when you are aiming there, when you are focusing high, illnesses, disease processes, all of that gets taken care of. But you have a higher goal here, you have a higher purpose, and that's what we want to focus on. So let me share my screen with you. What is this? Give me 1 second. All right, let me share my screen with you. Can you see this screen? Okay, great. All right, so radical longevity. I wanted to start with something inspiring, and this woman that I'm about to show you, I'm about to show you a video of this amazing woman. She's in her 80s. She had 11 children. I hope you're ready to dance, because you're about to see some amazing salsa. Ready? Check this woman out. This is cool. know we all want to watch more. I know we all want to watch more, but I have to stop it there. But isn't she incredible? Think about that. I mean, I don't know if many of us can do that now. This woman's in her 80s, had 11 children, and that the person she was dancing with is her grandson. Phenomenal, phenomenal. So I want to get you to set your thermostat high, because we are looking at radical longevity. I mean, that was radical, wasn't it? Like, really radical. So longevity, we all know, means that is the length of your life. And I just wanted to make sure that we knew what our potential was as human beings. Like, how long are we supposed to live? I mean, I agree again with Alex, us having an expiration date of 78, 79 years old, that's really terrible. And having that long range of illness, probably a 30 to 40 year range of illness in those last few decades of life, it's pretty disgusting when we are meant to live till we're over 100 years old. And we are divinely and beautifully created. I mean, we started off perfect. We started off as two cells that came together 270 days later. Here we are, these beautiful babies, and we are born divinely created, and we are perfectly created, and we have everything that we need within us to heal if we know how to treat our bodies. So how do we get there? We have to follow very specific physiological laws if we want to get to that 100-year mark and to live to our full potential. And so we don't want to just have prolonged years of suffering. We want a life of overflowing vitality. I mean, how many people have you ever heard say this? I really regret taking care of my health at an early age. No one. You will not hear anyone say that ever, ever, ever. In fact, you'll hear the opposite. I wish I had taken care of my health. I wish I hadn't waited. I wish I hadn't put whatever, the car first, or, the carpet first, or I don't know if I needed that rug in my house. I think I needed me more than I needed those things. Those things are not as important as you. You are living in your body, and it has to last you, and you want to be here for a very long time, living a full life. So we have some basic needs, and I mean, there are many more than these that I have that I could mention, but let me be brief and go through some things that I think we all know, but I want to remind you of. So first thing, sleep. Sleep is incredibly vital. We want to make sure that we get a really good amount of sleep every night. People differ. Some people don't need as much as others, but if I generalize, we all need about 8 hours of sleep per night in order to rest, repair, and restore. Like, our immune systems go into hyperdrive when we're asleep. So we want to switch everything off and put all the energy into repair and regeneration. Next thing is our circadian rhythm. What is that? Circadian rhythm, that is us going back to nature. We've lost that. Going to bed with the sun and getting up with the sun. As soon as electricity was invented, that went out the window. We started producing and working till a lot later, and it's very harmful to our bodies. And then, of course, I think that we all know how fast the world is, and it's unnaturally fast. We need to slow it down. The phones, the social media, I know we're all on here now at 7:25, the sun's gone to bed, but this is so worth it. This is your exception. This is so worth it. Slow it down. Slow down your pace. Close the curtains. Shut off your devices. We call it an e-fast, an electronics fast. You need to shut everything down at least 2 hours before you go to bed, so that your body can actually enter a restful state. And of course, if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't slow down, your body will be stressed. And with stress comes inflammation, comes disease, comes dis-ease, lack of ease, and you will get sick. It's as simple as that. And then now where food quality is pretty awful, it really, I mean, even the organic food's not as good as it could be. We actually, at this point in humanity, we do not have a choice. We have to supplement. I never used to say that, like 20 years ago, and I used to teach workshops and guide my patients through, I would never be talking about supplements, but now I have to. Now we actually, as doctors, we have to start talking about this. You know, you have to make sure that you get the nutrients, get the essential nutrients. And then there are some nutrients that you cannot manufacture in your body. And I want to highlight, I always highlight one vitamin or one nutrient, one herb, one mineral in every presentation. And today we're going to highlight the queen or the king, vitamin D. So vitamin D is essential for so many reasons. And again, as Alex mentioned, it is something that creates so much health. It strengthens the immune system, prevents diabetes. Diabetes, I'm not sure if you're aware, is one of the most prevalent diseases now. It's actually it's probably going to be taking over as the most common disease process, I would say, within the next decade or so, because of the food quality, because of the amount of stress, because of the poor nerve supply to the pancreas, etc. And we have this terrible thing going on now, which is insulin resistance. So you want your vitamin D because it stimulates your pancreas to make insulin. Vitamin D also lowers blood pressure, prevents heart attacks. Heart attacks are the second leading cause of death in the United States right now. And again, this might be new news to you, but the number one leading cause of death in the United States, and to me, this is old news, but to some of you, this might be new news. The number one cause of death in the United States, and it has been since I can remember, is drugs and surgery. So allopathic medicine. And when I'm not saying that the MDs are bad or wrong or anything, but they're just in a model that doesn't work. They've been educated in a model that doesn't work. And so, and we have all gone down that road as well, due to and I'm just going to be very honest because I always tell the truth, being the huge amount of money that gets made by pharmaceutical companies. So nobody's doing anything on purpose apart from the people that are. So we've got to really work hard with educating ourselves. You know, so heart attacks number 2, number 1, now you know. And then vitamin D prevents cancers, many of the cancers, and cancer is the number 3. It's the third leading cause of death in the United States. Vitamin D supports the absorption of calcium, good for bone density. I mean, if you're looking to have this radical longevity, you need a skeleton that's going to support you. You need a body that's going to support you. So you better get those vitamin D levels checked. And I'm a big believer in metrics, measuring. Whatever you measure grows. So get that vitamin D measured, keep monitoring it, and watch it go up, and watch your health rise, watch your energy levels go up, watch all of that get better. Now let's talk about sunshine and supplementation. You make vitamin D, the vitamin D that you're able to manufacture, you do that through your skin. Your skin needs to have that sun exposure. But, you know, what was the temperature today? Let's talk about the weather. I'm from England. I always talk about the weather. It was 21 degrees when we woke up this morning. What is it now? 28 degrees. I don't know if many of us are going out and, you know, in a tank top and exposing as much skin to the sun. I have colleagues, actually, I mean, this will make you laugh. I have colleagues, and of course there are other doctors like me who are just complete health fanatics. They buy houses that have a lot of closure where they can just be naked in the sun. That's the best thing to do but I don't think any of us are really doing that. So you're going to just need to supplement anyway. Darker versus lighter skin. When we have dark skin, we have a pigment in our skin that actually creates the brown, and that is melanin. Melanin is there to protect us from the sun, where we're genetically set up for more tropical climates. We don't make the vitamin D as readily as people with lighter skin. We have to be in the sun for a lot longer. So people with darker skin, where we have our brown skin, we need to be in the sun for at least half an hour before anything even happens with vitamin D. And then people with lighter skin, 15 minutes, but that's a long time when it's 21 degrees. I mean, I don't want to go out there sometimes. So most people need more than 5,000 IUs per day. In fact, if you really look at the numbers, and I don't want you to guess, remember I said everything needs to be measured. Most people need about 20,000 IUs per day, and that's something that is extremely important for you to stay on top of. So really, go deep with that. That's something to focus on. All right, so with radical longevity, we actually want to look at this and create some goals. Let me just put this over here so I can see what I'm doing. So we want to create some really good goals. And in order to create goals, in order to live a really long life, really in order to do anything, to accomplish anything in life, I completely relate to Alex talking about entrepreneurs. I mean, we're all entrepreneurial doctors. I mean, that's a lot. You have to know why you want it. You have to know why you want to live a long and healthy life. What is it that you want to stick around for? Make a list, write it down, stick to it, and then observe yourself. Observe your thoughts. What is going on in here? Are your thoughts the type of thoughts that are going to build you up or bring you down? Whatever you're thinking will be what happens. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, so let's talk about focus just quickly. Talking about focus, if I'm focusing on, let me get rid of my disease process, I'm very unlikely to reach radical longevity. All I'm doing is focusing on getting away from getting rid of something. If your focus is on actually having radical longevity, everything changes. If the quality of your questions is, are you asking yourself, how can I get rid of this? Or are you asking yourself, how can I be my most optimized self, my best self, my strongest self? What did God create me to be? Who did God create me to be? And how am I going to bring that into action? Like, what are your action steps? So thoughts, the recurring thoughts, actually become your beliefs. And then your beliefs become your behaviors. So you can't do anything without a good behavior. Just like we teach our kids, if they have bad behaviors, if we create rituals with our kids, they don't brush their teeth every day, Dr. Jimmy will appreciate that one. They're not flossing, they're not exercising, they are not having their showers, they stink, they have tooth decay. For me, it's all about nervous system health. They're not taking care of their bodies. What do you think will happen? We have to change the behavior. So you change your thoughts, which is what we're doing right now. We're shifting paradigms, we're shifting the thoughts, we're shifting the beliefs so that you change your behaviors. So you need to move the dial on your healthcare, on your health. There will have to be a major change in behavior. So health is actually not about willpower. It's about empowered will. You have to get empowered in order to be healthy. It doesn't just happen. This health is not a coincidence. It is never a coincidence. It is a series of commitments, small commitments over time that create habits, behaviors, rituals. And the longer that you're able to commit to your habits, the healthier you will be for longer. You will get that radical longevity. So again, health and longevity is not a coincidence. It's a culmination of positive health-giving behaviors that turn into habits over time. And it starts with a very good and honest look at yourself. You have to have a huge amount of courage when it comes to looking at your health. And you have to be very, very raw. You have to be raw and honest always. And that is how we treat every single person that comes into Nurture Wellbeing. We look at where they really are, like not just at their symptoms, because sometimes symptoms don't tell you everything about the true state of your health. We look at this. This is called the illness to wellness continuum. Please feel free to take a picture of this, because this is important. This will help you in your journey to radical health. So the body, the human body, is a dynamic system. It's always changing. Health is either going up or it's coming down. You're either improving or you're declining. Nothing stays the same. That homeostasis or balance, those are very, how can I put it? Those are very blanket statements. And they don't mean much sometimes, because the body is changing all the time. So what you want to really be looking at is, where are you on this illness to wellness continuum? So let's go through this. So it goes from 0 to 10. I want you to grade yourself. You can do it right now, either mentally. I would write it down if I were you. 0 is death. 10 is high level wellness. Where are you on this continuum? So let's go to the middle zone, the comfort zone. This is where most people think they're healthy. We call it false wellness. It's not true wellness. True wellness is up here, high level wellness. It's neutral. The person's got no symptoms. Their diet style, which is very important, their diet style, their nutrition is inconsistent. They exercise sporadically. They don't really have many habits in place, and health just simply isn't that high a priority. So that's 5. We're in the middle zone here. If we move down to 1 or to 2 or 3, poor health, we categorize that as having symptoms. If you have a symptom, you have poor health, whether it's a recurrent rash on your arm, whether it's a headache that comes every 2 months, you are getting a symptom. You might be taking some type of drug or medication. Remember, that's the leading cause of death in America, and you will be losing normal function. If we go this way, at number 1, we have some kind of disease. We have a diagnosis already. We're on multiple medications, poor quality of life, and your potential, definitely you're not even close to radical longevity. But this is something we need to cover, because in order to speak about radical longevity, we need to cover everything that comes under that. So your body has very limited function. Now, when people come into my office and they have symptoms, I ask them to grade themselves, and they will often say that they're a 9 or a 10. And I'm really shocked, because it means they didn't read the things underneath the numbers. So you must look at yourself in a very, very honest way. So here we are. What is good health? We're only at good right now. Good. You want to be excellent. You want to be remarkable. You want to go beyond. So good health, regular exercise, good nutrition. You're educating yourselves. All of you are already doing amazingly well, because you are on this call right now. You are actually motivated, you're educating yourselves, and there's minimal nerve interference. Next, at 10, what does 10 look like? 10, radical longevity, optimal health, 100% function. Your nervous system, your body, every single cell in your body knows what it's doing. Your brain is regulating you properly. Your organs are coordinating with one another. All the chemistry is there. You are continually developing yourself. You are actively participating in your health, and you are living a wellness lifestyle, and you will have been doing that for a very long time. Again, this doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you have to work on. So we currently, even pre-pandemic, we are in a health crisis. We have been in a health crisis for a very long time, a very, very long time. And it's due to three main reasons. Number one, a lack of personal responsibility. Who has seen, all right, this always makes me laugh. I hope that you get this sense of humor. Who do you know, or who have you seen with their face mask on? They pull their face mask down, they take a puff of their cigarette, they put their face mask back up again. Have you seen that? How insane is that? Insane. That is insane. What about last year in the lockdown, when they closed a lot of the medical offices and the doctors' offices, but they kept the marijuana cafes open, they kept the liquor stores open. I have a lot of bad things to say right now. I could go on, but lack of personal responsibility. What are you doing with that? Putting on that COVID 20 pounds, that COVID 19 pounds. Where were you? Why weren't you eating a healthy diet? Why weren't you exercising, getting fresh air? These are things that we all know. So I want to make sure that I address this and we talk about responsibility, because nobody is responsible for your health. Only you are responsible for your health, not your wife, not your husband, nobody. It's you. So you have to be in and you have to be committed to you. And that, I could end with that, I won't. But because that's the crux of it. That's the crux of it. You cannot rely on your MD. We definitely cannot rely on the government. We cannot rely on anybody. You've got to sit down and take a good look. And then number two, this I believe is huge. It's a lack of education. In America, we spend the most amount of money on healthcare than anybody in the entire world. We spend over, about $4 trillion on healthcare per year. And we are the sickest nation in the entire world. And out in the entire world, I think we take, and I might be a little bit off, I think we take something like 65 or 70% of the drugs taken in the entire world. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that the human bodies that we have, I don't think people in America are designed any differently to the rest of the world's population. So this isn't through lack of trying. The American population, they are trying. We're trying to get healthy. People are doing everything, not everyone, because, I just gave you those other examples, but a lot of people are doing their best, but they don't know what to do and they're not educated. So all of you, I already give you 10 out of 10 top marks, 100% for being on this call right now. And then number three is probably the most important reason as to why we're in a health crisis. And that's something I will go through at the end so that you can get that in context. All right, so when we're looking at health then, longevity, we have to know what health is. So what is true health? Is it this guy? He's got a six-pack. He's been working out. He looks good. Is health when you look good, or is it when you feel good? I think most people would say one of the two. When I look good, when I feel good, or when I look good, I am healthy. I completely disagree. It's not about that at all, because you can look good and you can feel good and you can get very sick. I have multiple examples, and I'm sure some of you, if you think about people that you've known in your life who felt fine, they were healthy, or so we thought, healthy in quotation marks, we thought they were fine, and yet they had a heart attack and died. Or maybe someone who we thought was healthy, all of a sudden they are in intense pain and they go to the MD, they get a cancer. They get a cancer diagnosis. Were they healthy or not? Did it just happen overnight? Did it just happen like that? No way, no chance. It takes at least 20 years for your heart and your body to decide to shut down and die. The body is incredible and miraculous, and again, divinely made. And life will always want to be born within you. Like innate inborn intelligence is the strongest thing that we will ever witness, and it's something that we can't always really understand, but it's something that we need to be aware of. So we want to make sure that we harness that innate, that inborn potential that we have, and we work with it. So we have to follow these natural laws. I want to show you this lovely girl. This is one of my patients. She started care with us in June. This was her posture when she started. An aligned spine, which means a good posture, means or is equivalent to or produces a healthy nervous system. The nervous system functions well. The nervous system consists of your brain and your spinal cord. It controls and regulates every single cell in your body. A bad posture means that the spinal cord is actually sitting in the wrong position. When that happens, when we shift our alignment, we misfire, our nervous system misfires and becomes dysregulated, and we get sick. Now, this little girl was sick, and you can see that her posture is pretty terrible. I think this is pretty much the typical posture that we see in teens now, where the head's coming forward, the chest is depressed, the shoulders are rounded. She actually does have a bit of a lumbar curve, but you can actually see that the tailbone's tucked under. This is her just 3 months later, and you can see that head's coming back, shoulders are starting to line up with the ears. She's got further to go, but I want you to see how much change can happen in just a few short weeks. Everything's getting aligned, and she went from sickness to health. Now, I don't know what the condition was of the guy with the six-pack, but we can't guarantee that he was as healthy as this girl, so it's not about how you look or how you feel, it's about how you function. So that's what health is. True health is about function. Your entire body, your entire system being regulated from the inside out, every cell in your body knowing what it's supposed to do. And I would absolutely go so far as to say that health is mental, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, all of those, all of your chemistry, all of your hormones, how you relate to the world, how you perceive the world. Your brain is your filter, it's your interface. If you have a sick nervous system and a sick brain, you will have a sick world and a sick existence. Sometimes you'll go into that stress mode. The world won't feel like a friendly place. It won't be this exciting place full of joy and passion. It will be this very scary place where people are bad and I'm scared of people. I don't want to be around others. That's more of the social anxiety, or we'll go straight into that disease process. So your nervous system is your master system. It regulates and controls everything. It even regulates and controls genetic predispositions. If your nervous system is optimized, you can switch off certain genes that may have been, the genes that were running in your family. My family is absolutely an example of that. I should be diabetic right now. Both sides of my family. I come from a huge family. My parents had 12 siblings each. And I don't know how many cousins I have. Honestly, I've lost count, but I can tell you that I am pretty much the only person in my entire family that did not go down with diabetes at an early age. And there is no sign of it. And that is because chiropractic and optimizing my nervous system saved my life over and over again, not just with diabetic tendencies, but in every single way, emotionally, spiritually. When you are connected, you even connect intuitively in a greater way. You can connect with your body. You have more awareness. You have more awareness with the world. You have more awareness of your purpose and your reason for being. And there is no limit to the amount of connections that you can make within the nervous system. So let's talk about what happens when it goes wrong. We call that subluxation. Sub means under, lux means light, energy, information, electricity. not enough light, energy, electricity, information moving through the system. So this is what we do. This is how we get to radical longevity. We have to make sure that our central operating system, which is our central nervous system, is healthy, and that there isn't a single part of your body that you can afford to lose. Believe me, I thought about it. Maybe I could lose this one, this little finger here. Nope, I need it. There isn't a single part of you that you can afford to lose. God gave you everything that you need. There is nothing that is that there is nothing that's dispensable. You know, you cannot throw away any part of you. So here we are. We have our brain, brainstem, spinal cord, and then we have the nerves that exit from the spinal cord, and they travel to every single organ in your body. So it's very simple. It's simple, but not simple, but we're going to simplify it right now. So it's a feedback loop. You have the messages go from your brain down through that brainstem, through your spinal cord, through the nerves, let's say to your heart, but you know, any organ, any cell, every cell has 6 to 9 nerves that supply it to your heart, and then back again, up through that cord, through the brainstem, back to the brain. And it's a feedback loop. Anything that interferes with that loop is what we call a subluxation. When you have a subluxation, we actually take that more seriously than a cancer or than a very serious terminal illness or disease, because it's the precursor, it's the cause, it's the root cause. If I cut the nerve that supplies the heart, so if you cut off the wire, the electricity that supplies the heart, what will happen to the heart? Bang, you're dead. The heart has no electricity. It's like you turn the lights off, there's no electricity. If instead of doing that, we twist, we stretch, we put pressure on the nerve, it only takes the weight of a dime to cause a subluxation. We cause a subluxation here. There's an interference in that nerve. The nerve's not sending the correct information to the heart. What happens to the heart? You will get some sort of malfunction in that heart. So heart disease, what does that look like? That looks like an enlarged heart, high blood pressure, an arrhythmic heart, a heart that's beating too fast, too slow, etc. I can go through any organ. So let's say someone's got a GI problem, a gastrointestinal problem, they have Crohn's, irritable bowel, diverticulitis, some kind of bowel cancer. What we're looking at there are the nerves that supply those areas. So if I cause a subluxation, a nerve interference in the nerves that supply the bowels, we're going to get, again, one of those diseases. We can name any type of disease, and we always have to retrace it back through that nervous system. Now, how is that different to what we're taught in the system right now? It's completely different, isn't it? If you go to your MD with high blood pressure, what's going to happen? You're going to be put on high blood pressure medication. If you come here to Nurture Wellbeing with high blood pressure, what am I going to check? I'm going to go from the inside out, find the root cause, and check the nerves that supply and regulate your blood pressure. Let's see if we can get this system working without having to put you in at risk to be in that highest demographic of death. Western medicine, drugs and surgery causes death. Let's not do that. Let's work with the natural and the natural physical laws, the God-given laws of the human body instead, and get you working from the inside out. Now, I want to show you this because we have our 14-day policy in our office. When someone starts care with us, we give them 14 days to bring their families in at no charge and have their families assessed. And then we go through and we do our nerve scans, we do x-rays if necessary. I sit with people, go through the findings, and we look at what their true health is. And then we look at what are the action steps to get them to reach their goals and to get them to reach their maximum potential. Now, I had a woman come in and she was saying, do you know, my son's fine. I don't really want to bring him in, but okay, all right, I'll bring him in just because he said that it was a good idea. And of course, guess what? Guess when health starts? It starts at conception. Wellness and health starts at conception. So we're always trying to get back to health. So this little boy, this is him, was 7 years old. Do you see how his spine is misaligned? This is a scoliosis. His spine should be sitting on this line. Upon further questioning, we found out that he's allergic to fruit. Who's allergic to fruit? You should not be allergic to fruit, everyone. I know that a lot of people are. That is abnormal. That is a dysregulation in your nervous system. The nervous system is not able to tell what is good from what is bad. That's not a good place to start your life. He also had dyslexia. He also had ADHD, and he was on Ritalin, but she said, no, he's fine, he's healthy because his Ritalin is regulating him. He's much better at school now. What do you think of that? I mean, if this was a live audience, I would want to hear what you thought of that. I think it's insane that people are so miseducated and so misguided that they think it's okay to have their health, and especially the health of their children, regulated by a drug that they might be on for the rest of their lives. This poor little thing. So of course we took care of him. This is him less than a year later. His spine's completely aligned, which means his spinal cord and his nerves are sending the correct information to his body. He was able to eat fruit. You know, that doesn't sound, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. He was able to get off his Ritalin. He could calm down, he could focus, he could study, and he could read easily again. Do you think that we changed the trajectory of his life? Yes, we did, and we do it every single day. We see miracles every single day, and this is what I want you to see. It's all about function. It's not about how you feel. He was feeling fine. He was on his drugs, you know. He wasn't fine. He wasn't fine. So when somebody has a symptom, in our office, we call it a body signal. It's the way that the body is signaling that something is wrong. And in order for you to get a symptom or a body signal, you have to have 65% or more dysfunction or degeneration of the nerve. So symptoms are the tip of the iceberg, and they come at the very end. By the time someone comes in to see us with symptoms, they're already red flags in our office. It's already, we need to save their lives. This is an emergency. And I want you to just really understand that nervous system really does control and regulate everything. You know, a lot of people are walking around with neck pain. This lower part of your neck is the nerve supply to your heart and your lungs. Do you remember what number 2 cause of death in America is? Heart disease. Heart disease. So if you're walking around with a stiff neck, or you know, with a crunchy neck, if you move your neck around right now and you hear noise, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So we've got to really make sure that you take care of it. So if symptoms come at the end, if I have no symptoms and I think I feel fine, how do I know if I am truly healthy? Like, how do you know? You really don't know. I got this complete slap in my face when luckily at an early age, I was 18 years old at chiropractic college, and I learned this and I couldn't believe it. I thought I was really healthy, but I wasn't. I used to have to take medication with every single meal. I did have those pre-diabetic symptoms. I was passing out. I was fainting. They had to call ambulances at school just to make, you know, because I passed out because of my sugar levels and whatever. But, you know, my parents didn't know any of this stuff. And so as parents, if any of you have parents, start your child off the right way. The right time to start being checked for subluxation is at birth. Like, both of my kids were adjusted and checked within 45 minutes of birth. It must have taken me 45 minutes to just get over the shock and the joy of giving birth, and then I was ready to adjust. We were ready to take care and to clear those nervous systems. So You don't know. You don't know whether you're healthy or not unless, again, you get tested. You have to measure everything. So what we have here at Nurture Wellbeing is state-of-the-art testing. Our spinal scans, our nerve scans are designed by NASA. These are the this is the equipment they send up into space. And we have that here. It's amazing. It only takes us a few, really less than a minute, to know what your subluxation pattern looks like, or if you have any. This scan here on the right, I never see anymore. I used to, but I never see anymore. It's a normal, healthy nervous system. It's all white. This person here is extremely ill. This person here is cancering. It's an abnormal scan. All of these colors, each color is a subluxation. It goes from green to blue to red, mild, moderate to mediate, to mild, moderate to severe. Even the mild subluxations, again, what can you afford to lose? Nothing. You can't afford to lose any single part of your health. So when do you need to get your spine checked? I hope that you're all saying now, yesterday, 20 years ago, depends on however old you are, you need to get your spine checked then. So you need to be checked for subluxation. All of us need to be checked for subluxation. And then once we detect subluxation, we need to find out what type of subluxation it is, and then work on actually clearing that interference from your nervous system so that you can function. So remember I said there's a third reason as to why we are in a health crisis, and this is the important one. Procrastination. It's you delaying on taking care of your health. Procrastination is the thief of health. And I bet that Alex has seen this, Dr. Jimmy's seen this, all of us have seen this. If you work in the health profession, oh my goodness, it breaks our hearts. It breaks our hearts when someone delays on taking care of their health. And again, you know, who in the world have you ever met that said that they regret taking care of their health now? So I reward people that take care of their health immediately by giving special deals. I give special offers to people that take care of their health immediately. So for tonight only, Nurture Wellbeing is offering, and that's my office, of course, is offering an initial consultation, all your nerve scans, full set of x-rays if needed, a sit-down conversation with me to go over your findings and your first adjustment for $97, and that includes all of your immediate family members. That obviously it costs our office a lot more to see one person. It costs us hundreds of dollars to see one person, to sit there, to analyze x-rays, to give my staff over to sitting with you and hearing everything that's going on with you. This is our way of giving back to our community, because we want our community to be strong, to be healthy, to live up to their full potential. So we do this as an act of love. I think that giving this much is an act of love. So if you I advise you, I recommend that you all take a picture of this slide right now and text the word consult to our office number 631-257-5501. Again, that will be for tonight, for tonight only. We made special appointments over the next week so that we could accommodate anyone that wants to come in from this presentation, you and your families, especially after having sat here and making the commitment to educate yourselves is something that we don't take lightly. You know, you're giving of your time, you're giving of yourself, you are sitting down, hopefully taking notes and getting a greater understanding. I hope that you learn a lot about yourself tonight, and I hope that you do take action. We also have a doctor supervised weight loss program in our office. And again, we're giving a special offer for tonight only, and that is a consultation for $47. This is a 6-week doctor supervised weight loss program. And on average, people lose between 20 to 30 pounds in that 6 weeks. It's pretty incredible. And to lose that amount of weight that fast, it must be doctor supervised. So we will give you all the tools that you need. It's simple and easy once we know exactly what's going on with you and how to help you. So text thin, because you want to get slim. A nice slim body is often a healthy body, not always, but we'll get you there. 631-257-5501, and you'll be sending those messages tonight. Our staff is actually here. Our team is here waiting to take calls and texts right now. And I always want to end on a really, really cheerful, positive note. And this is lovely Michael. This is our latest success story on ChiroThin. He started his weight loss program on December 3rd, this December, and ended on January 14th. And he did an incredible job. I'm so proud of him. He lost 28 pounds in 6 weeks. And so, that's what we're looking for everyone. If you don't have that much weight to lose, you will lose whatever is healthy for your body. But in general, we see a lot of change very, very fast. So with that, I am going to hand off back over to Alex and Dr. Jimmy. I am so excited to hear Dr. Jimmy's presentation. We are neighbors. We actually are, our practices are just, I would probably say, Dr. Jimmy, we're about a mile away from each other. It's awesome. Smithtown's up and coming. I mean, it's already there. We're there. I mean, we're there already, aren't we, Dr. Jimmy? All right. So I'm looking forward to meeting you all. Let me stop sharing my screen now and hand off. It's a pleasure, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Caliendo. Great job. Can you hear me okay? All right. Our next speaker is a graduate of the State University of New York School of Dental Medicine, Stony Brook, 2002. He graduated magna cum laude from Adelphi University, attended a one-year oral implantology program at NYU College of Dentistry, attended a 2-year orthodontic continuum at the United States Dental Institute, is the associate clinical faculty in SUNY Stony Brook School of Dental Medicine. He has extensive experience in sedation, implant surgery, restoration, as well as Invisalign, children's dentistry, single visit crowns, porcelain fillings, laser dentistry, biomimetic, cosmetic, and reconstructive dentistry. He's a diplomat of the American Board of Oral Implantology. He's the past president of the Suffolk County Dental Society. And before becoming a dentist, he was a chef for 7 years. He's the founder of ESI Healthy Dentistry in Smithtown, New York. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Jimmy Kilimitzoglou.
Thank you, Alex, for that lovely introduction. And I'm very excited to be here with everybody. And I hope that you continue to learn. Alex set the stage, and Dr. Caliendo really give us some great information. So I hope to add to the knowledge tonight. So continuing with the theme of radical longevity, I would like to shed light on the correlation between oral health and lifespan. Let's face it, we're all in this pursuit of longevity, and some people just have it. Some people just don't, no matter how hard they try. Is it because genetics? Are they doomed because of their family history, or is it because of their environment and their lifestyle? More importantly, are there predictors? Is there a simple blood test that I could take that tells me that I will have a long, healthy life or not? I will shed some light to oral indicators, some oral predictors of longevity tonight. If you look at dental and medical issues, there are a lot of correlation. There's a lot of interactions between the oral cavity and medical issues. And you see some of them here. More importantly, inflammation, biome imbalance, the integrity of our bones, our immune function, which is really paramount to a healthy human being. And then I'll tell you about how oral health is linked to cardiovascular health, brain health, and obviously digestion. Because if you really think about it, the mouth is not an isolated entity outside of the body. It is a portal. And the way that we think of it, it's naturally the portal to the digestive system. However, if you really think about it, it's also a portal to the circulatory system. If you think about how we take certain medications, if you're having a heart attack, you're going to take nitroglycerin and you're going to put it under your tongue. We call that sublingual. And that's a nice, fast way to get that medicine into the heart. It's also a portal to the respiratory system. We know that a lot of people are mouth breathers. And if you have a lot of bacteria in your mouth and you're breathing through your mouth, guess what happens? Bacteria go into your lungs and you're susceptible to infections. The mouth is also a portal to the immune system. If you look at saliva, there's a lot of antibodies. You look at certain animals, and you know the expression, lick your wounds. Well, saliva has these antibodies, and when a cat is licking its wounds, it's actually promoting healing. Some of the diagnoses that we have in the oral cavity are cavities or caries. We have metal toxicity, bruxism or grinding. I'm sure all of you tonight have heard of TMJ, temporomandibular joint, and how we have temporomandibular disorders, whether it's grinding or clenching. A lot of times we have fractures. Sometimes you can see fractures, sometimes you can't. Erosion, which is a chemical phenomenon, whether it's from your stomach acid, if you have gastroesophageal reflux disease, attrition, which is similar to grinding, and other pathology or hidden dental infections. There's a huge controversy in dentistry across the globe regarding mercury. Mercury fillings, are they safe? Are they not safe? Well, you'll know that mercury is a highly toxic substance. You don't naturally find mercury in any animal model. And when you look at mercury, if it's ingested, whether it's fumes or a liquid form, it leads to all these issues. Anxiety, irritability, it really attacks your nervous system. You can get numbness in your extremities, depression, memory loss, hearing impairment, tremors, impaired speech. A lot of us may look at this tonight and say, hey, I have a little bit of some of these things that we're mentioning. I'm not suggesting that everybody has mercury toxicity, but it's something to look into. So, the Food and Drug Administration says that these mercury-containing fillings are normal and healthy to use in patients. But the Environmental Protection Agency says you cannot throw these fragments of amalgam, mercury-containing fillings, in the regular garbage or down the sink. So I have to spend money and technology to harvest it because I can't just throw it down the drain. Well, if it's not good for the environment, how can it be good in somebody's mouth? More importantly, and according to today's topic, it causes premature aging. Some other common diagnoses in the oral cavity are the ones that you see here. Periodontitis or periodontal disease, it's gum disease and bone loss around teeth. And that's also very, very prevalent in the aging population. Halitosis, which is bad breath. Edentulism, which is fancy for tooth loss, missing teeth. Candidiasis, which is an opportunistic fungal infection. Xerostomia or dry mouth. As we age, our salivary glands don't really produce enough saliva, so that can cause other issues. Oral cancer and misalignment of teeth. As we're chewing and we're aging, we do lose some bone and teeth tend to shift. So obviously there's a genetic predisposition to some conditions. Some people are just programmed to have diseases. It runs in their family, it's hereditary, and you can actually do a DNA test to find if you do have these genes. However, the environment plays a vital role. Some people are exposed to these triggers from the environment or lifestyle. like we mentioned earlier, smoking or alcohol use, that can trigger these diseases. One of oral infections that we have in our mouth are tooth decay. That's right, cavities are actually an infection. It's an infection from these types of bacteria that you see here called strep mutans. When we think of strep throat, it's basically strep infecting the pharynx. It's an infection, we treat it with antibiotics. So same thing, when strep infects the teeth, that's an infection. We don't just fix cavities, right? I'm not just a tooth carpenter, I'm a physician of the mouth. So I want to identify that and treat it. Hopefully we can treat it holistically early before it wreaks havoc on all our teeth. Another very common oral infection is gum disease. So we do have a lot of bacteria in our mouth. It's a balance, it's an ecosystem. We have some good bacteria, we have some not so good bacteria. And there is a huge genetic predisposition as to what bacteria are more prevalent in anybody's mouth. So periodontal disease is a genetic disease, meaning you do have the genes to have this disease, but also it's really influenced by the environment and your lifestyle. We have identified multiple strains. The family of bacteria is called anaerobic bacteria. They don't like oxygen, so they hide into these nooks and crannies under the gum line. And when you don't have very good oral hygiene, this gets exacerbated. And it's basically the environment, the biome, but also the host response. How is your immune system responding to these bacteria and their toxins and their byproducts? So what that means is it causes inflammation. And when you have this inflammation around your gums, which are highly vascular, they have a lot of blood vessels around them, guess what? They leak, and now it enters the rest of the body. So when you have periodontal disease, you are predisposed to systemic disease. You are training these cells to be inflammatory biased. So you have these inflammatory biased immune cells. So it shifts your immune system to be more sensitive to inflammation. And you have chronic inflammation, not just in the mouth, but in the rest of the body. And that translates into progressive tissue breakdown in the mouth with inflamed gums and loose teeth, but also inflammation throughout the rest of the body, which basically means your tissue repair capacity or ability to repair tissues and heal is significantly diminished. Gum tissues are frequently, daily, challenged by bacteria. They're assaulted by bacteria every single day. So that's why when you have good regular oral hygiene, you have regular exams and cleanings, you keep everything at bay and you're running at an optimum oral health. However, when you don't, you have these pro-inflammatory mediators and cytokines, these substances that talk to each other, right? It's basically how one cell talks to another cell, and it's a cascade that produces insulin resistance, and it triggers diabetes. And it's a vicious cycle, as you can see from this diagram here. 1 out of 4 diabetics have periodontitis. Poor blood glucose control is exacerbated or increased when you have gum disease. When you have uncontrolled gum disease, it leads to poor blood control, and it's a vicious cycle, like I said before, which leads to diabetic complications. These are some examples of diabetic complications. As you can see, it affects the whole body, the brain, the eyes, the teeth, the heart, the kidneys, the nerves, and it leads to all these sequelae: poor wound healing, higher risk for infection, problems tasting food, tooth loss, bad breath, and so on and so forth. So all these issues go beyond the mouth, because inflammation, when it goes into the rest of the body, it interferes with nutrient absorption. So here we are, we're preaching, take supplements, take vitamins and nutrients, take calcium, take vitamin D, take K2. But if I ask you to take these nutrients in order for you to have a healthy mouth, when you can't absorb them, they can't get to the mouth. So that means that you have continued bone loss, your gums continue to degenerate, you have collagen breakdown, and a continued biome imbalance. Now let's tie this in to longevity. If you can walk away with one thing tonight, it would be this slide right here. Tooth loss is a longevity predictor. There's multiple studies that show if you have a lot of missing teeth, you will have a diminished longevity. The more retained teeth, conversely, the longer your life expectancy. So when we look at thousands and thousands of patients in the elderly demographic, when patients retain their teeth, they do so much better. And there's obviously a strong correlation between many missing teeth and cognitive function. There's also a correlation with many missing teeth and depression. The obvious thing is if you don't have a lot of teeth, your self-confidence decreases. Your psychological well-being is negatively affected. You can't chew properly, right? And that has a lot of other consequences. So how does oral health tie into longevity? When you look at the whole world, there's this global burden of oral disease, which should not happen. And it is a hugely underestimated problem. It's a public health issue, but it's also, let's take it a step further, a human rights issue. When you have these institutionalized elderly, right, in nursing homes or assisted living, and they are being neglected, and they're not being helped with brushing their teeth, it's kind of like neglect, right? Almost like abuse. And it affects this aging population, this society. And what we found when you look at the literature is that there's a huge disparity in low and middle income countries. The socioeconomic issue gets exacerbated in that demographic where they just don't know enough, right? And the teeth take a back burner, they're on a back burner, right? They take a back seat, but it basically has early onset Alzheimer's and other issues. Diabetes gets worse, hyperlipidemia gets worse. It's a cascade. So let's look at oral health and the healthy aging population. When you have this burden of oral disease and it's unnecessarily high, it leads to other issues. Because when you think about it, oral health is the last thing people think about. It's not even on the radar. It's not part of medical care, right? So diseases are a lot worse. They're compounded and overlooked. So when you have minor dental issues, they become urgent issues and emergencies. We saw this 2 years ago with a pandemic, where, like Dr. Caliendo said, medical offices, dental offices were shut down. And what happened? Little cavities ended up becoming huge problems and people had to lose their teeth. So periodontal disease, if it's something that's manageable and you take care of it and you don't neglect it, it's curable. Conversely, if it's not attended to, then it gets a lot worse. So cavities, gum disease, they get a lot worse. And you have these silent tooth infections, which normally we can pick up with technology, but if you neglect them, they're constantly decreasing your immune function. Your body has to prioritize them. It says, I can't deal with everything else. I can't deal with a silent tooth infection. I'm going to have to deal with other things that are more important. But what we don't realize is these silent tooth infections are bogging down your immune system and it's not functioning optimally. One of the results, which could be lethal, is a compromised airway. So if you have silent tooth infections and then all of a sudden they blow up, so to speak, you have swellings that are basically lifting the tongue up and blocking your airway. And that's a life-threatening emergency. If you think of it the other way, improved oral health will lead to all of these positive things. Fewer primary care visits, shorter hospital stays, lower prescribing rates, and obviously improved quality of life. Think about it this way. If your immune system doesn't have to worry about the mouth, great. It now can focus on other more important things. Let's talk about morbidity. Morbidity, by definition, is the condition of suffering from a disease or condition. So, for example, what is the morbidity of not having teeth? Well, you're walking around without teeth and you can't eat properly and you can't speak properly. That's morbidity. Mortality is a state of being subject to death. So if I say when you don't have a full complement of teeth, it'll lead to mortality, it means you're at higher risk for death. Poor dental health is associated with mortality. Let me say that in a different way. If your mouth is not in optimum function, you are at a 3 times higher risk of dying, especially in the elderly. Dental bacteremia is basically bacteria that originate from the mouth and they go into your circulatory system. Now, everybody has a little bit of bacteremia, but you don't need to increase that. So it's very important to focus on oral health. Oral infections, they can lead to other issues. They can lead to cancers. They can lead to autoimmune diseases. They also can lead to drug resistance. So if you don't have good oral health, medications that are given to you are not working properly. So what does your doctor have to do? Prescribe higher doses. That's not healthy. So oral health is directly linked to diabetes, as I said earlier, but it's also directly linked to atherosclerosis. A lot of the plaque that we see in the mouth is very similar to the plaques that we have around blood vessels. And that basically narrows the diameter of your blood vessels so you don't have proper perfusion, right? Proper blood flow to certain organs. Think about this. If you have a wide diameter blood vessel, think of it as a wide diameter garden hose. It flows nicely. What happens if you squeeze that garden hose? Is there more pressure or less pressure? More pressure. So that leads to higher blood pressure. You don't want high blood pressure. So it's very important to take care of your mouth. Poor oral health is proven to lead to trans-ischemic attacks. Those are TIAs, or mini strokes. So why is the elderly more susceptible to this link between oral health and frailty? Well, the population inherently is a little bit more frail. Our bodies handle things differently as we age. So you might need a lot of medication in the beginning of your life. Let's say you need a lot of medication to deal with a bad migraine. You may need a lot less dosage when you're older. A lot of sedatives that we use when we do procedures like surgeries, we have to go low and slow when we treat elderly patients. So the way that we absorb nutrients is different. The way medications function are different. Conditions are different in this population. The way that we respond to bacteria, viruses, and fungi is also different. So as you can see here, oral frailty can lead to different things. Decreased mental function, decreased physical function, and oral frailty can be used to predict life expectancies. So earlier I mentioned tooth loss can predict life expectancy. Well, oral frailty, if your mouth is frail, you will have decreased life expectancy. You would have more compromised longevity. We spoke about missing teeth, but I'm talking about more compromised oral function. You can't chew properly. You have bleeding gums. You have bad breath, right? So that frailty translates into physical frailty. And you see some of the examples down here, malnutrition, right? So oral frailty can be linked to malnutrition. Sarcopenia, that means wasting away of your muscles. So if you see these top 2 pictures, you have healthy muscle tone, and then you have sarcopenia, loss of muscle tone. It also leads to severe conditions requiring nursing care. And as I alluded to earlier, oral frailty can lead to increased mortality risk of dying prematurely. Oral frailty can lead to, it's not just compromised the oral cavity, but it's a compromised whole body health. It's decreased ability to eat nutrient-dense food, right? Because you can't eat raw carrots, right? You can't have different foods with consistency, raw vegetables and fruits and organic things. like nuts, right? You need a full complement of teeth to have nuts, and nuts are great for your cardiovascular health and your brain health. So what do you resort to? You're resorting to soft foods or liquidy foods, or foods that are high in simple carbohydrates, or highly processed foods, foods that have a lot of preservatives in them, right? And that, as you can imagine, can lead to a cascade of physical deterioration, decreased immune function, inflammation, unnecessary autoimmune diseases that normally would never turn up, unnecessary infections, and overall cardiovascular compromise. So physical frailty is basically poor wound healing. Now, bacteria and viruses find the chance to cause an infection. We call those opportunistic infections. Physical frailty, it can basically lead to stroke or aspiration pneumonia. A lot of these patients that have that are in nursing care, they don't think about oral health care. So the bacteria, the plaque, the tartar can actually go into your lungs and cause chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, but also aspiration pneumonia, infections that normally wouldn't happen, right? When I'm talking about cardiovascular issues, it could be blood clots. Where do these blood clots go? Is it in the brain? That's a stroke. Is it in your leg? That could be another issue. Is it in your heart? That's a myocardial infarction. It can cause edema, which is leaking of your blood vessels. That's not healthy. Congestive heart failure. It also could lead to diabetic complications. And the worst part would be coma, diabetic coma. So the elderly that have missing teeth, multiple missing teeth, and oral problems, they do have these issues that you see here. Poor cognitive performance, low physical activity, low energy, they don't have endurance. A lot of times they fall more frequently. They are resorting to a lot more medicine. We call that polypharmacy. They can have heart attacks, and they have urinary incontinence. So let's continue with the theme of predictors, right? So if you have poor oral status, that's a very strong predictor of adverse health outcomes. You have cardiovascular issues like arteriostenosis. I gave you the example of that garden hose where your blood vessels are more narrow than they should be. There's bone problems like osteoarthritis, and mortality in this population, in the community dwelling elderly, is higher when you have a poor oral health status. So again, what I'm suggesting is if you take a look at your oral status, you have a healthy mouth, you have a lot of missing teeth, that can tell you if you're going to have adverse effects in the future. That can tell you what your longevity is going to look like, what your life expectancy would be. Because elderly with more teeth show significantly lower death rate. How about this staggering statistic? 4 times higher mortality in elderly when they require urgent dental care. So let's prevent urgent dental care by doing preventative things. So prevention of oral frailty leads to healthy aging. That's what I would want for myself. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about what do we have available to diagnose and enhance our oral health and basically deliver the concept of what I call oral optimization. And then we'll wrap it up. Advanced diagnostics. So we do have digital radiography, which is a lot less radiation than what we used to have years ago. Intraoral cameras are little pen cams that can take photographs of your teeth. You can really zoom in and have different modes so we can see certain things. Now you can see what I see in the mouth, and we can do something that I call co-diagnose. We can come up with a treatment plan together. There's transillumination, which is no radiation, just fluorescence of light, so we can see teeth better, and we can catch things early, like small cavities that we can actually reverse. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a few minutes. Obviously, a periodontal exam to see if you do have pockets between your gums and your teeth that are unhealthy. Velscope is an enhanced fluorescence oral cancer detection technology, and oral CDX, which is a brush biopsy, a very minimally invasive way to see if something's brewing, so to speak. A three-dimensional cone beam CT scan is something that, as it suggests, shows me things in 3 dimensions, because an X-ray shows me top, bottom, right, and left, but it doesn't show me depth. So when I see something like this and the patient has an issue, I want to know, is it towards the front or towards the back? And when you do have these 3-dimensional images, you can finally see exactly the root cause of the issue and with a minimally invasive way, go in there and treat it. It's kind of like your GPS. There are diagnostic lasers and there are therapeutic lasers. Diagnostic lasers are almost like a depth finder that shows me if there's a hidden cavity from the top surface of the tooth. A salivary analysis is a very low-tech but highly effective way to diagnose a root cause of an issue, because I want to know, do you have low resting saliva? Do you have good stimulated saliva? Is the pH off? Do you have acidic saliva? Do you have a thick viscosity or lack of buffering capacity? So these are simple tests that we can do to figure out why do you have more cavities? Why are you more prone to these things? And then we can do some easy things to fix them, some biological things to fix them. Speaking of biologic, biomimetic technology leads to advanced treatment. For example, if we can identify that you have a lot of anaerobic bacteria, well, we can use oral probiotics. These are probiotics that are freeze-dried, harmless bacteria you put in your mouth and it dissolves. And now these harmless bacteria compete for the same nutrients that the harmful bacteria go for. So now you're offsetting that imbalance in your microbiome. It's a brilliant way, very inexpensive way to naturally help your oral optimization process. Remineralization is basically using this minimally invasive paste, MI paste, that increases alkalinity, decreases sensitivity, strengthens your teeth, and reverses your cavities. So you're flooding your teeth with healthy mineral, calcium phosphate, and you can literally reverse this cavity process. Xylitol gum is another brilliant way to help your mouth. Xylitol is a naturally found sugar that bad bacteria can't metabolize, and it stimulates your salivary flow. What better way to encourage healing than your own saliva? I love supplementation, so we do use vitamins like vitamin K, vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin D, and vitamin B, all through a dental prism. Obviously, all these vitamins are good for your overall health, but this is specifically crafted for your oral health. Ozone is a naturally found substance, and you're basically electrically infusing another oxygen molecule. So from O2, which is oxygen, you create O3. Ozone can control bacteria, viruses, and fungi without harming human cells. Hydrogen peroxide breaks down into water and oxygen. Essential oils, baking soda, oil pulling. Those are all natural ways to increase your health in your oral cavity. There are biological treatments. This is a little bit more advanced and a little beyond the scope of our talk today, but briefly, we can take blood, spin it, take your own blood, spin it, get all these chemotactic mediators, all these goodies, these substances that are responsible for healing, and infuse it in certain areas that we need regeneration. So we're increasing the speed of health. We're basically fast forwarding your healing capacity. There's other treatments that we do, like orthotic appliances. You heard me talk about TMJ briefly earlier. So there are TMJ appliances. There are sleep apnea appliances that can advance your lower jaw forward, which in turn brings your tongue forward and opens up your airway. There is safe amalgam removal. So these mercury-containing fillings can't just be taken out. And I know Dr. Caliendo didn't get a chance to speak about this, but I work with her, with my patients, and she knows how to detox patients. They see Dr. Caliendo before I take the amalgam removal. So she helps them detox and chelate, get the process started. Then they come to me. There's a special way that we remove these mercury-containing fillings because you do not want to be exposed to the fumes. So there's a barrier that you see here. There's a nose piece with oxygen, And then we help them with detoxification. And some of the things that we do is chlorella, activated charcoal, bentonite clay, among other things. Root canals are controversial, but we don't do root canals the way that we did 100 years ago. We do use advanced root canal treatment where we three-dimensionally disinfect these areas, and we use lasers, photo-induced photoacoustic streaming, piezoelectric ultrasound. So this way we clean beyond where the canal is. There's also lasers that we use for gum treatment, and there's also laser biostimulation where we enhance your healing capacity with this light energy. Other technologically advanced treatment is computer-aided design, computer-aided milling, which is a conservative, precise biomimetic way to replace crowns or fillings and restore teeth to their optimum function. Many times we can do this in one day. Some of you may be familiar with dental implants. Let's face it, sometimes teeth do have to be removed, whether it's one tooth or multiple teeth. And dental implants are a great modality to replace these missing teeth so that we, again, restore your function for proper chewing. I mentioned sometimes people do have crowding of teeth. Let's face it, teeth shift throughout our lifetime. So there is a clear way to align these teeth with aligners and orthodontic therapy. Oftentimes people avoid the dentist because they're deathly afraid of coming to the dentist. Sedation dentistry can really help patients get the treatment that they need. Many times patients need 10 years worth of dentistry, and we can do it in one visit. So many times, through no fault of their own, they have neglected their mouth for 10 years or more. Now we can give them their smile back, kind of give them their life back in a way. You heard me talk about oral optimization, and I'm going to wrap everything up together today. It's about modern oral care. It's customized for each particular patient. There's no cookie cutter approach. It's all about being minimally invasive and biomimetic, mimicking nature. Probiotics being one of these treatment modalities. It's about identifying and resolving these oral infections early. Advanced diagnostics, early detection. One example was salivary analysis. And the goal should always be to prevent and or manage chronic conditions. I really want to thank you for being here with us tonight. And as a token of my appreciation, I'd like to offer you the family discount, a comprehensive oral examination. If you want to take me up on it, you come over. Usually it's a $600 value, but for the first 6 attendees that will respond, we'll offer it for $60. Like I said, this is beyond the family discount. It's an oral optimization consultation. We'll sit down together and we can use our advanced diagnostics, some of which I mentioned today, like transillumination or salivary analysis, intraoral cameras, so we can look at things together, a 3-dimensional digital scan, so we can identify if, God forbid, you do have these hidden infections or microfractures. If necessary, we can use the fluorescence enhanced oral cancer screening. But as an added value for tonight, if you call and use this promo code ESI60, we can extend a courtesy of 50% towards any of the biologics that I mentioned today, like the MI paste, the calcium phosphate alkaline paste, or the oral probiotics, which can help you naturally fight cavities and gingivitis, leads to fresh breath and naturally white teeth. Antibiotic support, which is GI probiotics. Those we use for people that absolutely have to take an antibiotic. We use the specifically crafted blend of GI probiotics so that you don't get any other unnecessary issues. You heard me talk about xylitol gum, which naturally fights cavities and freshens breath and leads to healthy gums. So in closing, again, like Dr. Caliendo said, you're in charge of your own health. And like Alex mentioned, I work with ESI Healthy Dentistry. It stands for Exceptional, Sophisticated, Integrated Healthy Dentistry. We are in Smithtown. This is our contact information. The easiest way to do it is to go to esihealthydentistry.com. and take a look at that website. Thank you so much for your attention. Let me stop my share screen here. I'll give it back to Alex. Alex, you're muted.
Great work as usual, Dr. Caliendo. Fantastic. I love your sense of humor, and you bring a lot of fun to the program. So if you guys are watching us on Zoom or on Facebook, I'm going to be giving away a couple of these copies of this book, Radical Longevity by Ann Louise Gittleman. If you've never heard of Ann Louise Gittleman, she wrote a lot of books. She's pretty world renowned. And it's just a tremendous amount of information that's really life transforming. So we're going to give some of these away, but we'll open it up to questions. I think when I first began this event, someone asked me about the correlation between cancer and oral health. It was Fabiola. I think she left Fabiola though. Well, if you guys have questions, please feel free. But meanwhile, we'll just chat. So both Dr. Jimmy and Dr. Sabrina are in Smithtown, conveniently located. You guys are in walking distance from each other. So, yeah. So that's very cool. And I love the synergy between the both of you. And I love the presentation today from both of you. I felt it just worked so well. It's really amazing, this whole idea that, you know, for a long time, we don't really give a lot of thought about our oral health. I mean, it's just not something that's promoted. You have a cavity, you go fill it with whatever they put into your mouth, and that's it. I hate the dentist. I love the dentist, whatever it is. But to have an idea that, first of all, the bacteria in the mouth can affect the heart and the lungs, that's fascinating. And that missing teeth can undermine your longevity goals. Fantastic. I mean, it's not fantastic, but it's interesting to know. So let's see, we have Sabrina Caliendo. I would like to learn more about your weight loss program. Would the best way to do it to get an appointment, or could you tell me, can you talk a little bit more about the program, Dr. Sabrina?
Yes, the best way to learn more is to get an appointment, because it is physician-led, so we would need to see you. It's a very fast appointment. It's just 20 minutes long. Everybody's different and everybody's health is different. So yeah, making that appointment. So again, 631-257-5501. And it's tonight, it's just $47.
Fabulous. Okay, very good. Our pleasure, Ellen. Thank you so much for being here with us. Gagan, our pleasure. So, thank you, Michael. Michael, you had a question? You raised your hand, I saw. Or did you want to say something?
Michael asked a question and I answered it already. So
you did? Okay, great.
I'm wondering if that was it.
So great. It's like interesting to how our society is set up. You know, there's a lot of information about weight loss. There's a lot of information about all of these things. And the more we focus on them, the more of it we seem to have. Billions that we're spending on weight loss, for example. But the problem is that they're attacking it from the outside in. And I think we have an understanding, having been around this information for as long as we have, is that you really cannot lose weight if you're not well. If your digestion is inflamed, if your biome is off, if you're toxic with heavy metals, if you have a silent tooth infection, if your spine is misaligned, if all of these things are happening and your body is out of homeostasis, you really have a difficult time losing weight. Plus, if your biome is off, you have all these cravings, and if you have sugar cravings and all of these things that as society sells us, I think it's crucially important. And that's why I was talking about in the beginning, that you have to have someone on your side, a coach, someone you can bounce information off of, who you know is your person. Mm-hmm. Because all the information that we're getting from out there, you know, a lot of it is tainted. We're over the last 2 years, we really got to see how powers that be have a control of the narrative. And a lot of times we feel like there's not much we can do about it. So we need a trusted advisor, a medical partner in our health and well-being. Olga has a question about genetics. How does genetics influence longevity?
Dr. Sabrina, did you want to take this one?
I'll take this one. All right. So genetics can influence longevity, but actually the thing that, I don't want anyone to be living in fear. I've seen so many people who they've had parents and grandparents die around the same age, and then they get close to that age and then they get afraid. It's much more about how you take care of yourself. Try not to, as much as possible, try not to go into that very self-sabotaging belief that you are on your way out. Yes, it can, but there are so many different ways. If you are really working on your health, and again, where I'm an expert in nervous system optimization, I'm always looking at that. Like, okay, so what's your family history? I really want to say that anytime you start from a place of fear, that's just never a good thing. I hope I answered that question, but there are a lot of ways to get around genetics.
I would add to that, there's a whole field of epigenetics.
Mm-hmm.
You got your genetics from your parents, not much you can do about that. But we also got a lot of the habits from our parents and grandparents as well, the way we eat, the way we react to stress, and all these things. So genetics is just like programming, the apps on your phone. If you don't touch those apps, they don't bother you. But if you're poking around and you're pressing the apps, then you're interfering with genetics. And also, there's a lot of really amazing things happening in genetics. They were able to decipher the entire human genome for the most part. And now they have like Cas9. You've heard of this? It's a remarkable technology where they can take, if your genetics are like a library of books, they can find one letter in one of those books that may have something to do with the color of your eyes, or if you're prone for cancer, and snip it out. They're doing this now. And there's a Chinese doctor that was arrested because he took an embryo, and it was a twin girls, and he removed the gene for making them susceptible to HIV. So he's trying to do the right thing with this technology, but it's a little bit like, we don't know, this change cannot be undone. And that's, so they put him in jail. Chinese are very serious about this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's an information program that on CDC. Well, yeah, Michael, I think we're on the same page there. So genetics is important, but I just think that the system has learned to profit from our disease so successfully that there's these perverse incentives in the system. So like Dr. Jimmy and I were talking about this before. There was a client that we had a heart issue. So he went to the doctor, and they told him, we can do a catheter. The insurance doesn't cover that. Or we can do open heart surgery. The insurance does cover that. So the guy goes, whatever the insurance pays for, that's what we're doing. That is just so bizarre. And I know you have things like that in your industry as well. So Dr. Jimmy was talking about fixing a tooth, like early detection, finding where the enamel is beginning to disintegrate, and fixing it. Getting the tooth to regenerate. That's fantastic. Only a doctor like Dr. Jimmy would be interested in doing that. The perverse incentives with the insurance company is that wait until the tooth disintegrates and put an implant. $10,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is. Why would you want to sell them a $20 supplement? That doesn't make logical sense. But Dr. Jimmy is in it because he's a true champion for the health and well-being of his people. And I find that so endearing. And that's why I love doing this with him and now Dr. Sabrina. We're all, these are doctors of the same cloth, passionate, brilliant, and fabulous. Well, great. coming up on 9 o'clock. I think all did so good, so good. So let's choose a couple of winners. Let Dr. Sabrina choose a winner of this book. I'll send it to you. To my email here and Facebook. If you guys want to give us a hello, we'll add you to this program as well. I'll give you my email here. So, Dr. Caliendo, please choose a winner.
All right. So I'm choosing from what? From the participants?
Yeah, anyone who chatted with us or asked.
Well, I actually think Michael has been extremely engaged and has asked some great questions. I see another one here. How important is a person's attitude about life and living in addition to what you presented? Of paramount importance. I mean, 1,000% important. So I am going to choose Michael because I think he asked amazing questions and really is getting some depth in, I can see that there's depth here with him.
Awesome. Michael, congratulations. You're going to love it. It's a good read. It's not too scientifically written. So it's a fun read, great information. I have it mostly highlighted. So you're going to get a lot out of it. And so just send me your mailing address to the email. So I'll mail you a copy. Dr. Jimmy, please choose your person.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And if I could chime in, attitude is super important. When you're thinking positively, on a physiological level, there's endorphins that are flowing through your body, and you're just prone to doing good things physiologically. Conversely, if you're having a negative attitude, the opposite happens. And like Dr. Caliendo said, if you're thinking something bad is going to happen and you're all doom and gloom, guess what? It's going to happen. If I can share a personal story, my grandfather about 22 years ago was diagnosed with a condition, and they said, okay, we can do this procedure and you'll be fine. He's like, no, I don't want to do the procedure. And he was so pessimistic that literally after 6 months, he passed away. My father, conversely, he had a great attitude, and he ended up living like 15 years or more after his diagnosis of cancer. So he really wanted to do it. My mother was diagnosed with cancer, and then same thing as her father. 6 months later, she passed away. So I think that definitely drives the point home that if you have a positive attitude, good things will happen. I'm almost off my soapbox. If you can indulge me in a few more seconds, if you're thinking positively, right, and you're thinking that I'm going to do this and I'm going to fix my environment, forget about my genetics. Like Alex said, I believe in epigenetics. I'm going to live a healthy life, have a good diet, exercise regularly. I don't care about your genetics. You're going to do really well. With the same token, if you're saying, oh, I have great genetics, I can just do whatever I want, that's also not good. You can't rely on that either. I can see both of you guys shaking your head.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We see it all the time, where people have got everything going for them. And yet that downward spiral of thought and of attitude and of mindset, that's the killer. It can kill people. It can kill you if you choose to go that way. And I would add to that, and again, I'm going to end very shortly. There's a moment where you choose a thought. There's a moment, it's a split second, it's a moment before you choose to go that way. If you're going to go that way, all else will follow. If you're going to go down, all else will follow. If you're going to go up, all else will follow. And there is a choice, and there is a decision-making moment as to who you're going to be and what you're going to choose.
Fantastic. Gagan, Dr. Jimmy chose you as a winner of Radical Longevity. So congratulations. Make sure you send me your mailing address and I'll get you a copy out. And now I'm going to choose Olga Lucia. So Olga, also, please send me your address and I'll get you the book out. And as we wrap this up, I'd like to ask our lovely presenters for their final thoughts. Dr. Caliendo.
Well, my final impression really was what a pleasure, what a pleasure to be talking to people who actually want to know, want to learn, are motivated, and then, you know, what an honor to be sharing, you know, we're not on a podium, as the social technological podium with you, Alex, and with Dr. Jimmy, people that really strive to really better people's lives and to save lives from a place of extremely high integrity. And that to me is absolute honor to be working with all of you and to have been able to present.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caliendo. Dr. Jimmy?
Yeah, well said, Dr. Caliendo. I commend everybody here tonight for spending 2 hours with us. I'm happy that you guys got a lot of information, and I hope that you use it well. And like we said before, you're responsible for your health, and don't settle for just good. Go for excellent, because you deserve it.
I'll end with this. I remember many, many years ago, one of my brother's friends, who was 3 years younger than I am, and this was probably a good 30 years ago, he became a doctor. And he told me, you know, you can do your business, you can make your money, but eventually you'll give it all to me. And I kind of never forgot that. And this mentality, that kind of, the medical system is expecting you to get sick and is expecting to profit from your illness and disease. And I found that so repugnant, and it just saved me for all these years. So I want to tell you that, you know, sometimes we look around us, we see the beautiful mountains, and we say, you know, wow, so majestic. We see the ocean, we say, wow, so powerful. We see a beautiful field of flowers, and we say, wow, that is just beautiful. But we look in the mirror, and sometimes we say, you know, I'm not worth the investment. I failed, so I'm a failure. I just want to tell you that you are much more magnificent than any mountain, ocean, and you're much more beautiful than the field of flowers. Whatever investment you need to make in yourself to live optimally well for the duration of your life, make the investment. You're worth it. We love you. We want to thank you for joining us. Feel good. God bless.
God bless. Amen.